Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Auto Transport Intel. Thanks so much for joining us today on DOT Compliance. It is Wednesday. It is noon Central Time. That means it's time to dive into FMCSA regulations with your DOT guy, Brian Riker. I'm your host again today, every day, 4 times a week. I'm Jay, and thank you so much for joining and tuning in and saying hello. Please do jump into the live chat, say hello. We got John Cochran, LAI Auto Transport in DC. Thank you so much for tuning in, John. Kathy Taylor is here. Hey, from Virginia. What's up, Kathy? Thank you for saying hello. John, something about tolls, so we'll definitely get to something about that. And Fritz is here. What's going on, Fritz? How are we doing, everybody? How are you doing? How we doing? We're definitely going to get to how we doing. Do me a favor. Go ahead and, I ask this every time. Click share, click copy, grab that YouTube link. Thank you for leaving a like. I sure do appreciate it. Here's the good news, is that we're here for 30 minutes, and Brian is an expert. And now he's providing friendly advice, but it's good advice. And it's only for 30 minutes a week on Wednesdays at noon. So send a lifeline to a friend. Let them know this is your chance to ask questions. Stop skipping the scales. What are you doing? And go to autotransportintel.com, click on sign up. Become an ATI insider, talk to Ty. Learn how to grow your lane, your business. Are you looking for some kind of technology? Get on the email blast. Let us know how we can help you. We're Auto Transport Intel. We want to help. And hey, Ty is here. I was just talking about you, buddy. He's in the live chat. This is a party. So let's do this without waiting any longer. Good. It's 2 after. Brian, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing just fabulous, Jay. And yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I had a great show last night, and I'm pumped about it.
I wish you were on earlier so that I could stay up and watch, but that's after my bedtime.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is that Tuesday nights are... it's a different animal. It's company business. Last night was actually more of an automotive logistics, global tracking logistics show. We had a guy from Trinity Rail. We had a guy from Jack Cooper in the live panel. The CEO of Vilog Tracking. Anyways, I could go on and on, but it was awesome. So if you missed it and tracking interests you, because here's the thing is, it's one of those topics where it's like, man, somebody's like, wow, Jay, you're just putting me to sleep with this tracking talk, right? But we know how important tracking is. And so if you want a deeper dive, well, then the show last night, Vlog Tracking, is a way to go.
Well, tracking is important for a couple of things. I don't want to derail the show we have for today, but visibility into the customer's freight is a key metric they need to measure. They need to know where that load is. But we have to also consider, from a DOT point of view, that tracking is one more level of data that's discoverable in the event of a catastrophic accident by a plaintiff counsel to say, well, Mr. Truck Driver, your logbook says you were down in Orlando, Florida, but the tracking on a load of cars that were on your vehicle says you were in Atlanta, Georgia that night before. So how do you explain that? So understanding how tracking works and how your customers are passively tracking their loads without your active participation through the telematics built into the vehicles and other equipment is very important for the savvy business owner.
And what we know is that, and this is what the show was all about, is that tracking still has, this was said, this is so great. Why is it harder to track 5,000 cars than a million Amazon boxes? That really puts it into perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, if that interests you, go check it out. All right, you know what time it is? Brian, it is time for, we need How We Doing music. It is time for How We Doing. Wouldn't that be cool? What could we do for How We Doing music? Like, I got a couple things.
We got to think on that one.
I don't know. I'll work on it. Okay, all right. No, that's terrible. Okay, so, but anyways, we bet you can't stump Brian. In fact, David bets it to the point where he's on a stump. Okay. Thank you, David, for that. All right, how we doing? It's America's favorite segment. Don't be the flip of the week. Load it correctly. Do it right the first time. Yes, it might cost you an extra 15 minutes, but you will save on insurance for years on how we doing. Amen. All right, so first we've got, this comes in from Mike, sent us, is this how you strap? How we doing?
So, if I'm looking at that right, the strap is going through the spoke of the wheel, wrapped back around the backside, and then down with the finger hook in the hole of the deck. Not even close.
Well, there's another one too. Here, look at this one.
No. If you're going to go through the wheel, which I do not recommend, if you're going to go through the wheel, do not wrap around just one of the spokes, because now you are taking a chance of distorting that wheel. If you're going to go through the wheel with that particular strap he has there, go in the one side, like in this particular image where the valve stem is, which would be in the way, go in, over, and out the backside with the strap. That is the right way to strap through the wheel if you're going to go through the wheel. In the towing industry, we'll use that wheel to recover the car out of a ditch. And we teach the guys, never grab just one spoke of the wheel. You go in behind all of them and back out with your strap so that the force is applied evenly, just like the 5 lug nuts apply to even force. Then you're not going to bend or mess up the wheel or the wheel end. No, do not do it this way. There are so many other ways it could be done with that particular set of straps he has right there. This is not the right way.
I want to say I applaud at least a strap was used, right?
Hey, at least, and if this is the same vehicle on opposite sides, at least he has that much going for him.
So, Jay, you've had your fun. Yes. But I do want to say the purpose of this segment is to learn how to do it better, so that, because maybe you got lucky on this one, but you may not get lucky on the next one, or you may get stopped. How's this gonna go at the scale?
You'll get cited for insecure load because that is not the proper use of that tie-down strap.
Here we go, and this is worse.
Yo, somebody had a bad day. Oh my fucking God.
Kidding me, that thing came through.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to definitely say that car was not secured properly, and then he came to a stop quickly for that traffic light.
Yo, somebody had a bad day.
Replay.
Oh
yeah.
My fucking God.
Kidding me, that thing came freaky. Do you think he even strapped it down at all?
Oh, that's hard to say, because I can't see multiple straps coming off to allow that car to come through.
There's no strap. I don't see any strap.
Yo.
No, I see no remains of straps there. And in closed carriers, it is very difficult to get the straps around the wheels, unless you're 100 pounds soaking wet. So I am going to say it probably was put in gear, parking brake on, and, oh, it's enclosed, nobody's going to see it. I'm just going across town, or whatever the excuse. I'm speculating, but
yeah, I know. Yeah,
that's a bad day. Fortunately, nobody got hurt, just some pride and some fiberglass. So
could have been worse, I guess, right?
Much worse.
Let's see here. Okay, so that was How We Doing. Thank you so much. And as we were talking about the scales, let's talk about it. Just a reminder, in case you have forgotten, you've been speeding and you forgot. This is Speed Week.
Yes, Operation Safe Driver. You should have noticed, I know I have on my trips this week, you should have noticed some increased police presence on the highway. Motor carrier enforcement are looking for truck drivers and other vehicles that are driving unsafely with a focus on speed and distracted driving. So this is not the week to be doing your dispatching and booking by yourself while you're driving down the road with the phone in one hand and the cup of coffee in the other and steering with your knee on the steering wheel. No, this is not the week for distracted driving, not that any week is. Definitely not the week for speeding. And that map there shows the states that love to enforce speeding most often, and there's a correlation to why on that map, and those states use speeding as the reason to initiate a motor carrier inspection, a DOT stop, because they have to have a reason outside of their scale house or port of entry to inspect you. So they use speeding as that reason. They write you a warning for speeding, which stays on your record and you can't do anything about it, and then they can find what other violation they want.
Yeah,
so really, it's just a week to slow down, and drive like there's a egg under your accelerator, and just relax. You're going to get there anyhow.
All right, we covered it. That is Speed Week. Good. Let's go to, and I am curious, before we move on, put it in the live chat. If you've seen something or experienced something, would love to know that. In fact, let's do this. Let's go ahead and do a few live chats while we're here. Let me back this up. We had John Cochran said he's trying to avoid the tolls, or he has a friend. John has a friend trying to avoid the tolls. Is that legal? Is it legal to avoid? What is the deal with avoiding tolls?
As long as you're on a truck allowed route, yes. Nothing says you have to pay a toll. You cannot evade the tolls by driving around the gate arm or covering your license plate so the electronic tolling system can't read it. But nothing says you can't run US 30 parallel to Interstate 80, the Ohio Turnpike and the Indiana Toll Road or something like that, as long as your vehicle configuration is legal for the route you're taking. There's no underweight bridges, no underheight structures, or no other posted truck restrictions. So get out your old-fashioned motor carrier atlas and look for in the front, look for truck restrictions on the route you want to take. And so if you want to drive the few extra miles, I can't say that I blame you, especially in my home state of Pennsylvania with the distinction of having the most expensive toll road in the world, the Pennsylvania Turnpike. I avoid that road as often as possible.
And allegedly. Brian, wondering if you have any experience with registering a carrier for hauling hazardous material. Looking to start dipping into it. I have experience and my endorsement.
Registering a carrier to be a hazmat carrier is a little more complicated than being a regular carrier. I have some experience with that because I have a couple of oil field customers. It's not an area that I consider myself an expert in or I'm extremely comfortable with because it varies so much according to the type of hazardous materials you want to haul, the type of vehicle you're going to use them in, because now you may also trigger cargo tank facility registration and some other stuff there. So for that, I would suggest you find a company that specializes in hazardous materials to help you complete your registration process. You can complete the whole thing online yourself at the FMCSA registration portal. Just make sure you dot all the I's and cross all the T's properly. My experience with hazardous materials is limited to holding a hazmat endorsement, helping out a buddy that has a home heating oil company delivering heating oil in the winter, and about for the last 12, 13 years, I've had a couple of pipeline customers, and even there it was very limited the amount of haz we dealt with. Mostly it was hazardous waste going to deep well injection sites in Ohio, and I was just overseeing their paperwork. So I can't really help you too much on that, but it can be done. It triggers a different insurance liability limit with certain types of hazmat, up to $5 million from the standard $750 for regular carriers and $1 million for auto haulers. Because remember, as an auto hauler, you're already a hazardous materials carrier, just class 9, which is not regulated like the rest of it. So you're already partially there.
Let's move on to, that was good. Thank you, Brian. Let's go to, in fact, since we're talking about trucking and jobs, etc., let's go to truck driving must become a good job again.
Yes. This addresses the so-called driver shortage myth. There is not a shortage of truck drivers. There are 40,000 CDLs issued per month in the United States. There is a shortage of people that stay in our industry because the job is not what's promised to them, because they bought into this whole concept of you got to pay your dues and start as an over-the-road trucker, and they get treated like crap at these over-the-road companies. So we really need to address that to retain quality drivers in our industry. And we're not going to retain the quality drivers just by bumping up the pay or getting them home when they want. We need to really think about how we're regulated, some of this nanny babysitter crap that they want to force down our throats on the trucks and everything else. This topic could be a week's worth of discussion just by itself.
Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna get my, let's see, nanny babysitter crap. Very good. I like that. It's really well, so driver retention problem draws focus at Trucking Roundtable. You know, nothing says solutions like more government. In fact, on the news on the news last night, there's now a it's like supply chain disruption task force.
Yes, there is.
Oh, well, shoot, I just snorted. That is so funny to me.
Well, some people love big government, and we have one of those administrations right now. On this topic, quickly, the three people up on the screen from your left there, Todd Spencer, Executive President and CEO of OOIDA. Then we have Mayor Pete, our new Secretary of Transportation, and Yoshimura, the deputy, I believe she is the deputy administrator of FMCSA. Out of the three of them, Todd Spencer really understands that driver retention is the problem. There is no driver shortage. I agree completely with OOIDA on their point of view on this one. Secretary Buttigieg, or however you say his last name, he gets it too. He's used the term retention, spoke about how to increase retention. He has used the term driver shortage a couple of times, but he's willing to listen and understand. So maybe we will get to the point where they understand that certain things need to be improved in this industry. That said, there's been another attack by the Mega Trucking Association, American Trucking Associations, ATA, to keep truck drivers exempted from the Fair Labor Standards Act, which we have been since 1938. And I think that's ridiculous, because if we want to improve the working environment for truck drivers, then they should not be in an exempt class, meaning that minimum wage, overtime, and other labor protections do not apply to them. Now, a lot of small fleet owners are going to want to bite my head off for this, because that means that the cost of labor is going to go up. It's going to be more expensive to have a trucker. But you know what? If it goes up for everybody, then our rates are going to go up as well. It just has to. We're going to be able to bill more. So pay your guys right, treat them right, and you won't have to spend thousands of dollars hiring new drivers every couple of months. How about that?
So now that I've had my kicks, the question I guess I want to ask is, so is there something the government can do to help this problem? I mean, when you just propose, like, you know, legislating more money, right? But it seems like every time we raise the bottom, then we keep raising the top, and it just keeps going up. Like there seems to be something in the game of life where not everybody gets to win.
That is true about everything. And
that was very negative,
yeah, but it's a truth. It is. The only thing we're guaranteed as Americans is the right to pursue happiness. We're not guaranteed happiness, so we're not guaranteed success. We're guaranteed the right to pursue it. It's on you to be successful. That said,
well done.
It's on us as an industry to fix this problem with the drivers. They cannot legislate happiness. They really can't. So they could make a rule that all...
Right now, somebody's like, yes, I can, and I am legislating happiness.
They're trying.
Legislating happiness. I love that, Brian. You are killing it today.
But seriously, it's on us as an industry to decide enough is enough. And that won't happen until we stop getting new people into the industry that don't know any better and burn out in 6 months.
Safety and driver pay are linked. Is that, I read this, I thought, is that true?
Yes. If you have a well-paid, content driver who is not racing to beat the clock to make his money, he's not worried about, I got to get every mile in today to make my money, he's going to be able to slow down. He's going to be able to make that decision if there aren't any consequences, real or imagined, where if you want to tell your dispatcher it's unsafe to drive today because it's a blinding rainstorm or it's a frozen sheet of ice or whatever, every company tells you, oh, that's okay, you're the captain of your ship. That's because the regulations say they have to say that. But in the real world, they start punishing you. You get lousy runs, whatever. So if you have a well-paid, content driver that is allowed to make these safety-related decisions on their own without any recourse, they are going to be safer. Look at it, and people will argue with me, and we can see the difference in the spectrum among the less-than-truckload carriers. Companies like ABF have very few accidents per million miles. I don't know the statistic off the top of my head, where companies like FedEx Ground, which is a less-than-truckload company just like ABF, but they are all independent contractor working for contractors of contractors, so there's always other hands in the piece of the pie. They make probably 40% less to do the same job ABF does. FedEx Ground has a lot more crashes. And I'm just using them as two well-known examples, but we can look at that. If you look at the crash rate per mile statistic of an owner-operator who's putting good money in his pocket versus a fleet that has drivers making $40,000 a year, there's a correlation to safety versus safety critical events per mile versus compensation to the driver and the carrier.
Great stuff, Brian. Really do appreciate it. I love your knowledge database. It's fantastic. Let's move on to HB 19. What was this? Reptile theory? What is going on here?
Reptile theory is a less than flattering legal term they use where lawyers throw lawsuits at the wall and see what sticks. They attack like an alligator. They go for everything. So here, if this is the bill I think it is, they're talking about limiting truckers' liability. If you're just doing your job and working within the scope of your employment, you can't be sued by these money-hungry, greedy trial lawyers because you had a...
Oh, time. Brian, hit your mic button got toggled. But we were talking about, we'll go to camera one. He was talking about, what did he say? Money-hungry, greedy trial lawyers. Brian is in rare form. Well, I don't know if it's so rare, but it is good form. But yeah, Brian's checking his audio. I'm in the live chat taking a look. Yeah, I think we've been properly stirring the pot. And the thing is, on the trucking jobs, I know that it can be talked about kind of ad nauseum. But what I do, one of the things I do, thank you, OIDA, and thank you, Landline Magazine from OIDA, is they have great articles. I feature a lot of OIDA articles. If you don't have Landline Magazine, I'm going to pull that up. Go to, it's Landline Media. Yeah, go to Landline Media and get signed up. I get the news articles and the print magazine. I get both of those, and it's a good source of topics that'll put your hair on fire again. One more opportunity to boil boil your blood.
I think I'm back now.
Yeah, HB 19, money hungry. So back to you, money hungry, greedy trial lawyers. Take two.
Yes. HB 19 is designed to combat the money-hungry, greedy trial lawyers. It really is. It puts limits of liability so that you, as the professional driver, can't be sued if you're working within the scope of your employment unless you're grossly negligent. None of this nonsense of, oh, well, 3 weeks ago he missed the 30-minute break, and so he's a terrible trucker. That's really what this is all about. Put limits of liability to stop some of these frivolous, ridiculous nuclear verdicts that are a result of the lawyer's reptile theory of just attacking everything. So that's the short version.
And maybe with any luck, that would help with the consideration of doubling the insurance requirement. Would it?
Yes. Yes, you would think it would, but this is only a state level bill, so the insurance is on a federal level. That said, if the lawyers know they can't get as much, they might lay off pushing for increasing the minimum liability limits. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's do, okay. We're gonna come back to that one for a second. We did have the question. No, it wasn't in the live chat. I think it was on YouTube. But we had the question about freight forwarder, and you gave a really lengthy, was very helpful explanation. I read it, but in a nutshell, freight forwarding is, let's see. You want to let's share my screen. I printed it out. Yes. This is what. Hey, warning. If you send Brian an email, and I'm going to give you the email address, put it here in the live chat. You can email your DOT question to onair@yourdotguy.com, or go to YouTube and put it in the live chat. Warning, he is going to give you a ton of information. Get ready to read.
Here, I'll give you the short answer. A freight forwarder forwards freight. There, we're done.
There you go, done.
Here's what it is. Freight forwarding is a hybrid between a traditional trucking company, a carrier, and a broker.
Uh-oh. Audio. We lost his audio again. I think there's either a button or he gets a call or something like that. He'll fix it.
How about now?
Yeah, we're good.
I can't hear you, though.
Well, we can hear you. We can hear you. Can't hear us. This is hey, it's live mobile media, right? Welcome to the live mobile media world. Somebody's like, yeah, Jay, I know. I'm alive. I'm here. Can you hear me? I can hear you. He's. We're almost done too. Well, I got a couple more minutes left. Yeah, Pep's.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, okay, there we go. Keep going.
I forgot to put my phone in Do Not Disturb mode, so every time someone calls me, it kicks me off. It's my fault.
Oh, okay.
A broker never takes possession of the freight that they haul. The broker gets the order from the customer, then they contract it out to a trucking company. A trucking company handles it all. A freight forwarder gets the order from the customer on one end of the deal or the other. They may hire out transportation to bring it into their yard or their warehouse. If, for example, with cars, when you drop them off at the port, you're dropping them off at a freight forwarder that's going to take your car, your load of cars, and mix them with a bunch of other load of cars and build a full load and put them on a ship and send them overseas. The same thing happens here on short term. Snowbirds, maybe a local towing company gathers them up, brings them back to their yard and stores them in Florida. You go down and get 7 cars that are for 7 different people and bring them back up north and drop them off. The company that arranged all that snowbird transportation is a freight forwarder or a broker. If they run the storage lot that they're held at, they're a freight forwarder. If they don't, they're a broker. That's the whole distinction with freight forwarder. They must physically take possession of the cargo at some point in the shipment chain. It comes into their warehouse and gets broke down and put on little trucks for delivery, or consolidate it and put on a big truck for the long haul. That's it in a nutshell. There's a little more nuances to it, but that's the 30-second version.
That's good. And then not only did you explain all that, but then you start to raise potential questions in different scenarios. Now, without naming company names, and we're not here to like pick at a wound, but and we see this on Thursdays on Dispatching Live, some folks are kind of riding that third rail of how exactly are you doing business?
Yes, there are certain companies that they represent the seller of the vehicle, they represent the buyer of the vehicle, and they take physical possession of the vehicle, yet it is never their vehicle and it is never their truck that actually moves it. And they operate with neither broker authority nor freight forwarder authority in a lot of cases. There are big companies and little companies that do that. And for us as a carrier, it has no implication on us. We can't be held responsible for the freight forwarder or the broker's misgivings, other than you may not get paid if there's no bond to go after and they shortchange you on a trip or something. But for those of you that are in that business of doing work described like this, you may want to see if freight forwarder or broker or both apply to you. You may have a company that needs all three types of authority. It's rare, but it does happen. One of my customers is in that situation where they have a private fleet, a public fleet, a railroad transload facility, and they give work out to other carriers. So they have all three active authorities.
I'm going to leave it there. I just want to say this, though, is that if you have, because we see what's weird, what we see on Thursdays is that many folks are complaining about one of the other verticals doing it wrong, being illegal, and then we realize, oh my gosh, you've got folks in your vertical doing it wrong, possibly being illegal. So if before you heave that large rock across the street, just check to make sure there's no rocks in the backyard. I'm pretty sure that's how the biblical expression goes.
So it's very similar, or the more popular version, those that live in glass houses shall not throw stones, or should not throw stones.
There was a lot of glass houses thousands of years ago. So
yes.
Right.
Seriously, don't worry about what your neighbor is doing unless he's your direct competitor. Then it's okay to want them to do it right, because that brings your industry up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Last thing, let's do this. Yep. There is Brian's book. Oh, did you see this too? Drug and alcohol violations in 2021 outpacing 2020 numbers through the first quarter.
Yep.
Right.
That's probably, I can't see the fine print, but it's probably due to the increased availability of marijuana.
Yeah, there it is. Let's see here. Look.
The orange line is marijuana? Yeah.
The orange line is marijuana.
And unfortunately, folks, for those of you with a CDL that are subject to drug testing rules, with the clearinghouse, there is no getting around this. You decide to embellish a little bit, or even maybe take a legal medical marijuana prescription or some over-the-counter chewies that are for your pain that are supposed to be 0 THC, and you fail a drug test. Well, you are done until you can complete the very invasive, very expensive, and very lengthy return to duty process. So now is not the time to be taking any chances with anything that could cause a failed drug test. Additionally, if we keep seeing these numbers, we're going to see the cost of our drug testing programs increase, because we've already doubled the amount of tests that have to be done in a quarter. And if the number goes up to another notch, there's thresholds, then they'll have to double it again. We could be up to testing 75% of our drivers every quarter. And so your annual $199 or whatever your program is fee per driver may start being $300, $400, $500, because the drug testing consortium has to cover the cost of all these extra tests that are brought on, because the industry has a perceived drug abuse problem because our numbers are going up. And anytime our number exceeds 1% failure rate, then the amount of testing increases. And so I don't know if it has to make 2% for it to go up to the next level, but anyhow, long story short, stay away from anything marijuana related, even if you believe it's legal in your state, because it's still a federal prohibited substance, Schedule I substance, and there is no excuse that makes it okay for your drug test. It's not like other certain prescription medicines that once you show them your prescription, you're legal, and that positive test is now transferred into a negative test.
Yeah. Well said, Brian. This is our last thing. Just a reminder. So next month we've got break week, August 22nd to the 28th.
Mm-hmm. Sorry about that. You caught me mid-bite. I'm trying to eat some lunch,
yeah,
too.
Woo!
So,
Busted.
break week. Break week. They'll be putting a focus on functioning brakes and brakes out of adjustment. So, make sure you don't have any audible air leaks. Make sure your brakes are in adjustment. Make sure your automatic slack adjusters are working. The easiest way to make sure your brakes are in adjustment on air brake vehicles is sit there and give it 5 or 6 full brake applications with your parking brakes released to the pedal. That'll trigger the self-adjusting adjuster to tighten up the brakes, and things should be all right. So when you get pulled around back to the scale house for an inspection, step on your brake really hard a couple of times. Make sure your brakes are in adjustment. Hydraulic brakes, you don't have much to check on disc brakes, but on your trailers, you have drum brakes on a lot of them. Crawl under there the day before this starts and make sure your brakes are adjusted. Pull that breakaway pin on the electric brake trailers and make sure it works. Do your full brake test. Make sure your parking brake works. Make sure your trailer brakes work, because brake violations are looked at very seriously by your insurance company. So you'll get 7 to 10 points for a brake violation, and your insurance company takes that as an equipment maintenance violation that is very serious, because not being able to stop leads to a lot of crashes.
That's what I love about you, Brian. I share a headline, and you went in depth. That was actually really, really helpful. On that, if let's say you're wondering, gosh, what do I do? Is there anything I can do to prepare other than just, look out for whoever? And you just gave a lot of possible ways to reduce your risk if you are faced with what do they get? Level 1? What's probably going to be a common thing that week?
It would be a level 1 or a level 3 inspection where they check either vehicle only or the whole 9 yards, vehicle and driver. Most commonly, it'll be a level 1 where they're going to check your paperwork, your lights, and everything else while they're at it.
Maybe, so maybe just for fun, have one of those sticks with the white end in the cab. So when he goes, let's pull around back, we're going to do a level 3. Get your stick out, be like, I'm ready. Let's do this. Don't do that.
No.
Brian says, keep smoking pot, folks. Less drivers, higher rates.
Less drivers available, the higher pay rate for the current drivers. He's not wrong.
That's one way to look at it. Hey, that's, well, shoot, man. And John, okay, so I'm going to read this and then we're going to let you go. John says, I have a question. If I have a Class A trailer with 3 axles, is it legal to take the back tires off and leave the axle to have a reduced toll rate?
Yes, as long as your weight distributes correctly between the 2 axles that are still on the trailer. You have the brake drums or other miscellaneous hardware secure where they're not going to fall off flying down the road. The axle is secured and chained up so it's not bouncing on its own suspension. It's no different than lifting an axle up on a lift axle vehicle or when we have a damaged truck, taking wheels off and chaining the axle up because the axle's damaged. The whole key is weigh yourself, make sure your weight's distributing properly between your existing axles, and remember that you have less cargo carrying capacity. It's going to distribute differently. A lot of these 3-axle trailers, their suspension doesn't really allow for you to do that, though. So make sure your suspension type will allow the weight to distribute between the existing axles without stressing what you're chaining up the axle you took the tires, the dead axle. So just double check you can do it with your suspension. But legally, there's nothing wrong with removing a set of wheels from an axle and chaining that axle up and taking it out of service.
Good question, John. Thank you so much. Well, we are over time.
We always are over time.
I know, right? Well, and Fritz said last Thursday, you guys gotta make a longer show.
Yes, we need to bump up to an hour, and we really do.
Yeah, but
getting an hour carved out on Wednesday is hard.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do is let's make it 45.
Mm-hmm.
Let's find that window. Let's take this offline. Let's not talk about this publicly, Brian. But let's do it. Let's take it to 45. Then we'll take it to an hour, and then pretty soon we'll have an 8-hour marathon.
Sure. As long as the sponsorship dollars roll in, I'm okay with that.
Yes.
Right. Seriously, folks, we love being here and answering your questions, and the show does go by very quickly. So thank you to the live audience. Really makes it move too. Thank you, everybody. And you're off next week, right, Jay?
That's right. Thank you. I am off next week. I'm finally going to do something, go somewhere, get away from the desk and the monitors. My skin has turned green. I got to get outside. So, yep, no DOT compliance next week, but we will be back the following Tuesday. What is that? July 27th.
It'd be a Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
You're on Tuesday on your other show.
We'll be back Wednesday, July 28th. Yeah.
Yes, we will.
Thank you. So, yep, no show next week. So, send in those how we doings. Send it to autotransportintel@gmail.com. You've got Brian's email on air at YourDOTGuy.com.
And we promise you we'll get to it all in 2 weeks, and I'm pretty sure that'll have to be an extended show just to get to it all. So
that could be the beginning of the 45. Could be.
Sure, man. All right, guys. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Please join us tomorrow on Dispatching Live. See you, everybody.
Bye.